Greetings! So I am back to address some of the comments that I got on my last video, the one about the Kuretake granulating colors. There were a lot of comments about the process of repackaging the paints and also about my results with some of the colors. So I looked into it and I was talking with Lime Art Supplies, and they told me that there's basically no reason that the process of repackaging the paints would affect the paints themselves. It's a really simple, straightforward process, and there's really no tempering that happens with the paints themselves. So that's not the concern, which only leaves two possible issues with why my swatches were so underwhelming. And the principal one would be user error, meaning me. It's very possible that I didn't really follow the right procedure to get the best out of these paints. So after reading your comments, after researching this a little bit more, I found information about ways that I could work these paints to get a much better result. So that's what I did. I sat down and I took out pieces of Arches cold pressed cotton paper. I took out my paints, water, brushes, tape, all of that. And I did new swatches. And I got better results from those swatches. They don't look like the promotional photos again, but the promotional photos to me cross the border into weirdly edited images. I don't really see how they could be reliable. They were not very representative of the first set, so I really wouldn't expect them to be representative of the second set all that much. As you can see, I got really interesting results with the olive color and with the blue color. The green color is interesting, but since the two elements that compose it are so close together in hue, it's kind of difficult to see the effect. Sometimes I feel like I can see a spot that's a bit more bluish and a spot that's a bit more greenish, but it's really subtle. For the olive color, you can definitely see some areas that are green and some areas that are more purple, but it's not a very crisp and stark divide. There's not a section that's bright green and then it cuts to a section that's bright purple. There's still a bit of mixing going on, but this is a whole lot better than my initial swatches. And a similar situation with the blue. We can see the orange a bit better in it with these new swatches. It still doesn't match the promotional or the product picture all that well, but I kind of would not expect them to, in the sense that I feel like these promo photos are heavily edited. I'm not sure I could get results that are like the product photos. I say that because if you take a look at the violet one, and the violet one granulates really well, but the colors of the promo picture are completely off to the colors of the actual violet granulation. So there's some tinkering that happens here or whatever, but I don't feel they're a good example of what the paints can do. So what did I do differently this time? I tried a couple of things. The paper was not new. I did swatches on Arches cold press paper, but it's the one that a lot of people recommended I try to get better results. So I took out some more pieces of it, and then I use perhaps a bigger brush and a lot of water and a separate palette also to prepare some paint with the intent of letting it sit for a few minutes before I paint with it. A lot of people got good results this way because what happens is that the sort of granulation color settles at the bottom of your palette and the undertone or the dye stays suspended in the water. So if you are careful with the way you load the paint onto your brush after, you can keep the two elements a bit separated on your brush, and then when you put them down on the paper, they will stay separated if you don't mess them up too much. It also helped if I pre-wet the paper and if I used a lot of water with my swatches. Now, the downside of this is that it's a bit difficult to get colors that are deeper and stronger, and also it's an effect that's really difficult to control. I personally wouldn't try to control it. You might be able to, awesome, but yeah, that's basically what I did here. So in short, lots of water, preparing the paint and letting it sit, not messing with the paint too much on paper. Once you put it down, you want to touch it as little as possible. These are the little steps that I took to get better swatches in this video. This set threw me out just a little bit because the first set was so easy to use and very straightforward from the start, while this set is a bit more temperamental. Some colors are easier to use than others, so that's that. I was also reminded of something very important that I forgot to do, and I'm sorry I forgot to do it, but I forgot to put these under UV light. The first set was so interesting to look at under UV light, and I completely forgot this time. I think it's perhaps because these colors, they don't really feel as fluorescent as the first ones. But yeah, so I took my swatches out again and my UV light, and as you can see, the colors are not all reacting to the UV light. Surprisingly, there's colors that don't react to the UV light, and then we have a sort of gradation between reacting a little bit to reacting a lot. So as you can see, the color that reacts the most is the olive one. Then we have the blue one that I think the orange particle in it is the one that reacts a lot. And then it's kind of a lot less noticeable, especially the violet one, which I feel doesn't really have any glow to it. But yeah, it still makes for a really interesting painting when you look at it under UV light. The way all that reacts is always funny to look at. We can also see with my little tiny swatches of the first set, the range of colors we have now in terms of under UV light. Like we're getting a color that is bright green under UV light, which is really fun. So it might add a lot to this range to have these options. Like if you know you're gonna paint something that is gonna be displayed under UV light, it gives you a whole lot more options of colors to reach for. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm sorry that my swatches were so underwhelming in the first video, and thank you so much for all the tips and info you shared in the comments of that video. We should see each other in the next video. Thank you so much for watching again, and take care. Bye bye. Do you have anything to say? Thank you for your commentary.